Good morning or good afternoon or wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. I do hope you enjoyed seeing our film. We had a wonderful open day here on Thursday, and we just wanted to give you the opportunity, who are a little bit further away, to hear about us. So I really hope you enjoyed seeing the film. I'm joined this morning by Mr. Hawkes, who will wave, who is my first deputy, and he'll answer lots of questions about things like sports and activities and just generally the schedule of the day. I've also got Dr. Stanton Ive, who's my academic deputy, who will answer all questions academic and just generally to do with the teaching and learning. We might be able to be joined by one of our boarders. We're just trying to sort this out technically. And if we are, it's Timi, and she's one of my head girls. So we'll go ahead. I think, Simon, you're going to put, hi, Timi. Can you say hello?
Hi.
Great.
Hi.
Brilliant. Okay, this is Timi, and she is my head of boarding. And Timi, do you want to say what A-levels you do and how long you've been in the school? That would be a great way of introducing yourself.
So I've been at the school for 7 years. I joined in year 7. I currently take economics, English, and psychology, and I did an EPQ.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you very much. So I think Mr. Hawkes is going to put us some questions for us, and then we'll decide who's going to answer it.
Okay, so at the moment, there aren't any questions on the feed. If you are viewing this and you'd like to ask a question, I'd encourage you to use the chat function in YouTube and post your questions. I can then display them on the screen and the relevant person can answer them. But perhaps before we start, then we can just talk a little bit about our respective areas of school. Who do you like to start, Caroline?
Well, why don't you start, Simon, and talk about the setup of the day, and then I can ask Timi to talk about what happens in the evenings and weekends, and then we can ask Dr. Stanton Ive to give us an overview of what happens during lessons and the curriculum side. And by then, I'm sure that parents and girls who I hope out there will have thought of some questions. So why don't you start, Mr. Hawkes?
We've already got one question in, so keep them coming, and we'll do that, and then we'll start to post the questions. So I just want to talk about the structure of the school day, and it's quite nice then if I talk about the school day, from when the lessons begin through to 6 o'clock, and then Timi, you can take over and talk a bit about what the boarders do beyond that. Does that sound okay? So the school day starts at 8:30. First lesson starts at 8:35. And a normal school day has six full 50-minute lessons in it, and those lessons run until 4 o'clock. Depending on what year group your daughter's in, she would have different activities at different times throughout the day. So she wouldn't always have 6 academic lessons in a day. She might, for example, have a games afternoon one afternoon, or on certain days of the week, different year groups have a double-length lunchtime, so they don't get taught in period 4. And that's one of the times of the week where we allocate year group co-curricular activities. So there might be music rehearsals or hockey practices or chess club or book club. So lots of opportunities to engage in activities at lunchtime. And then lessons end at 4. Many of the day girls might choose to go home at that point or stay in school alongside the boarders for the big program of co-curricular activities, which takes place after school. So between 4 and 6, there'll be girls taking part in sports fixtures. They'll be attending lectures. They'll be going to seminars. They'll be perhaps rehearsing for a play or a dance rehearsal. And there'll be lots of girls on site until 6 o'clock. And at 6 o'clock, that's when the day girls will leave, and we really hand over the school and the site to the boarders. So at that point, Timi, do you want to talk a little bit about what your routine looks like after 6 o'clock and how it varies depending on how old you are or what age you're in?
Yeah, sure. So between 6 and 6:15, we have our dinner slot, and that's staggered. So the younger years would go at 6, with sixth formers going at 6:15. Between 6:15 and 7, we have a bit of free time from when dinner ends and we start prep time. So for sixth form, prep starts at 7, and that usually lasts for 2 hours until 9. In the younger years, it's a bit shorter. So in Davenport, prep would be an hour, and similar in the middle school, again, an hour and a half. From 9 onwards, we have our sign-in time, just to make sure that the staff know where we are. And then from 9 onwards, again, we're free to do whatever we want. In sixth form, we have a bit more freedom, so we don't have to be in our rooms until 10:30. In the younger years, obviously, that time would be earlier. But yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, that's fantastic. It's great to hear about the routine, because, of course, these prospective families won't be clear about how it works in the boarding houses at the evening. I can see we've going to have some more questions on that later, Timi. So, Anne-Marie, do you want to just give us an overview of the academic structure and how it varies according to the different stages in the school? Are you muted, Anne-Marie? Yes.
Had to happen. Hello. So the academic structure of the school, really, the school is divided into 3 sections, what we call sections. So we have lower school, which is year 7 and year 8, or what we call upper 3 and lower 4. And your daughters are taught in their form groups there. So they have a sort of pastoral structure, which is your form, and lessons take place within those forms. So those pupils become very close to each other and learn how to learn together and thrive together. There's a very broad range of subjects on offer in the lower school. We have about 20 different academic and creative subjects. And when they move into what we call middle school, which is year 9s to 11, so that takes in obviously the whole GCSE experience too. We then move them around because we have quite a significant intake at year 9, and therefore they are able to grow and learn with different individuals, and they start making more choices about the lessons that they take and the options they take. For example, they are able to pick 3 creative subjects, so they won't always be with people that they've ever learned with before. And then after year 9, that's when the element of choice becomes really essential. And again, depending on your academic choices, you will be mixed into very, very different groups. And there our pupils will select 9 GCSEs, and if they want to, they may take 10. But also we have a very rich range of what we call our parallel enrichment program, where there are really exciting options for pupils to take subjects that are not part of the GCSE suite. So this encourages them to learn, to think, and to grow in very, very different ways. Those options include a really exciting higher project qualification, which trains your daughters into thinking, researching, and pushing through with their own questions about the world, and culminating in an extensive academic, properly annotated project at the end of that. Or equally, they would be able to do produce an outcome that is creative. For example, if they want to design a bridge and then write about the process there. We also have a new option from the Institute of Banking and Finance, which teaches financial literacy to our pupils. And Headington is very special in that so many of our pupils do go on to take economics and finance degrees. And Timi is one of those who has selected that focus for her sixth form study. And then we're bringing in a new certificate in philosophy, which has been created by the new College of the Humanities, which is one of the universities that we have in London. So that area is great potential for academic growth and independence. And then coming into sixth form, most of our sixth formers would take 3 A-level subjects plus the extended project qualification, which is the sixth form equivalent of the higher project qualification that I mentioned earlier. Timi, you've done an EPQ, haven't you? Would you like to talk about your very exciting project a little bit?
Yes. So since I'm interested in economics and specifically development, I decided to focus my project on Chinese investment into Africa. So we started that journey in January, February, and ended around November when we did a presentation. So the EPQ was an independent research project. We were allocated a supervisor who would help us through the journey. I learned many valuable skills, such as analyzing and evaluating my research, referencing skills, which I think was very beneficial in the long run.
Thank you.
So thank you, Timi and Anne-Marie. But Anne-Marie, whilst you're talking, I have a question here that I think would be a good one for you to answer around the help and guidance that could be expected with university applications and personal statements.
Absolutely, yes. And I will talk about that, and then perhaps Timi might want to give her own personal experience of that. So the journey towards the next steps in life beyond Headington begins very early in the sixth form. It starts with discussions with tutor groups. It starts with presentations in the lower 6 years, and gives all of our pupils a lot of opportunities to research what is out there. Some of them come into sixth form with a very, very clear idea of what they want to do already, and then they are supported in that. Others quite reasonably need to do a lot of extensive research before they can finalise their 5 choices that they put onto their application form. In the lower 6 in the spring term, we have an absolutely enormous, very, very busy evening where we invite university representatives to come and speak to our pupils and to parents about the different course options available, the entry requirements, and to give them a clearer sense of the reality of different degree courses, because some of them are very, very different from what somebody on the outside might expect them to be. In a non-COVID world, we then encourage our pupils to go and visit some of those university campuses to get a sense not only of the facilities on offer, but also of the place, the situation within the country that they're cited, because some people have very, very different and very clear preferences about wanting to be have close access to countryside or to be in a very sort of busy urban environment. Your form tutor, in parallel with your subject teachers, will support you with your personal statement. So we start drafting those in the lower 6 in the summer. And in parallel to that, each of our academic departments runs higher education sessions. These will usually be at lunchtime, and anybody who's interested in, say, for example, doing economics or doing engineering at university will go along to those sessions where they have discussions with our teachers about the syllabus outside and beyond A-level. And if there are any sort of entrance tests that have to be taken, then there'll be preparation and practice in those. So it's really, those sessions are designed to focus the mind of the sixth formers into that sense of, I'm really committed to this subject, and to give them the ability to think and learn beyond what is going to be tested in their A-level exams. The autumn term is of the upper 6 is the really crucial term, where personal statements are refined, and those applications start to go through round about the beginning of October, with the early entrance for those who are interested in doing Oxbridge or medicine applications, and those have to be in round about our half-term point. And then the majority will go through just before Christmas, so that the whole process can be put behind our students before they go off to revise for their mocks. So there's plenty of support, both with the personal statement from the tutor and from academic departments coming through there. Timi, would you like to talk about your journey through the application process?
Sure. So yeah, I had no idea what I wanted to study when I came into sixth form. I think I changed my course subject like 3 times, but again, talking to all my subject teachers, I was able to find out which like avenue I wanted to go down. The higher ed sessions were beneficial. I think we had sessions every 2 weeks, every week if my teacher could plan a session, which again was very beneficial. We learnt about like prospective job careers, and again, the personal statement day. I went in not having a draft and left having a first draft, and I managed to submit my application around November, which was very early deadline.
Okay, thank you, Timi. Caroline, I've got some questions around boarding and so on, and I wonder if you'd be happy to answer some of those This first one is around how the houses are structured, which is a good question, actually.
Yeah, the houses are structured very sensibly around the age group of the girls. So in year 7s and 8s, they're together in a lovely old building, which is called Davenport. And it feels very much like a large family home with a little bit out of something out where you might imagine an old-fashioned boarding house would be like, with lots of little lovely sort of corridors and steps up and down, and the girls absolutely love it and make it their own. Timi will remember very fondly being in Davenport. And the dormitories then, the maximum is 5 in a dormitory. They're sort of 3 to 5 mostly, because when your daughter comes into school, we want her to be sharing with other people, and that will change every term. So she'll get to know the people in the house very well over that time. And there's a matron there who's looking after them in the evening and at weekends, and they'll be doing cooking and baking, and they'll be learning some things like how to use a washing machine if they want to wash things their own things at certain times. They go out on wonderful trips. They have fantastic gardens, just literally Davenport Gardens outside the door are gorgeous. And I went past there yesterday, and there was some badminton going on, just outside, just playing around and having fun. When they go up the school, we have middle school then, which is the girls are mainly in rooms of 2. They then have their desks in their room with them, so they can do their work in their room, as opposed to where in Davenport, where they're doing it all together in a room at the bottom of the house during prep time. And there's a little bit more freedom. The kitchens are always very popular, and we provide a lot of food in there. Not that the main dining room doesn't supply all the food. It's just that the girls do like to do their own cooking, baking, that sort of thing, but also noodles are very popular. Maybe last thing at night, go and make some noodles and that sort of thing. So that those options are there. When you get into the 6th form, where Timi is now, there's 6th form boarding houses, and a lot of the rooms are singles. There's a few twin rooms, very much the girls taking more independence. And it's also on top of our fantastic new 6th form centre. So the opportunity for social areas are very, very large in the evening and weekend, with lots of great, lovely big TV rooms, and there's different places to work in our fantastic cube. So although you can work in your room, you can also work elsewhere and find, a nice quiet space if you want to get some work done. Because very much some of the girls will decide they like working in their bedroom environment. Some of the girls may decide actually they don't want to work in the bedroom environment. That needs to be where they can relax and just be a work-free zone, and then work elsewhere in school because there's plenty of spaces.
Okay, thank you. And whilst we're on that theme, from the same guest, what percentage of children in lower school? I guess this is as a percentage of the whole year group, but also as a percentage of the boarding community. Yeah,
so our boarding community as a whole is about 25% of the school, which is about 200, which is a good number in boarding. Some boarding schools are only 200 in size. We, of course, as a senior school, are 800 in size. Out of those boarders, probably about 2/3 of them are full boarders, so they're here all the time. I can see there's another question about exeats. We don't have exeats anymore, so you have an opportunity to stay in apart from being at half term. You can stay in all the time. Or the other way of looking at it is, if your family do come over at a particular weekend, then you can make arrangements to see them that weekend. It doesn't have to, your visit to London or whatever doesn't necessarily have to coincide with an official exeat time. So when your parents are over, you can get to see them whatever weekend that might be. But so we don't have exeats, we just have half terms. But there's less boarders at the bottom of the school. So the Davenport house I was talking about has about 30 girls in it. There's year 7 and 8. And as they go up through the school, more boarders join.
Brilliant, thank you. I think I'm going to pick the next question for myself. So this question is asking whether boarders can go swimming or use the gym or play tennis after the 6th academic classes. So yeah, I mean, after the academic lessons are over, between 4 and 6 p.m, there's loads going on for day girls and for boarders, and all of those things are happening all over the site. But I guess this is a good opportunity to talk about the additional things that are in place for the boarding community as well, and that goes on after 6 p.m. and at the weekends. And Timi, I'll outline some of the broader program. Perhaps you can chip in with some of the things you take part in. So, within the Boarders Activities Programme, there's opportunities for boarders to swim in the evening during the week. The gym is open, I think, every evening and at weekend slots. Timi's nodding for the boarders. So boarders are able to take advantage of that. We're very lucky to have a fantastic tennis coach who works full time in the school, and he will do tennis lessons for day girls and boarders at times that suit them throughout the week. And there are Saturday tennis lessons as well, which I'm sure some boarders take advantage of. And beyond that, boarders are able to access some of our absolutely amazing facilities on Saturdays as well. So there was a question around facilities and about the Hive, and I'll talk about that in a second. But boarders are able to access, our art department on a Saturday and also our music department. And many of the girls who want to continue with their art projects or practice their musical instruments are able to just go into those departments, which are open and supervised on Saturdays, and take advantage of our amazing facilities just outside of the normal working week. Before I talk a bit more about the Hive, Timi, do you want to talk about the activities that you've done as a boarder?
Yeah, sure. So again, the facilities in school are amazing. So I try to take advantage of the gym when I can, especially on the weekends, just to have downtime for myself. There's also a range of activities that the boarding community arrange for us. Like this weekend, we have an Easter barbecue, and sometimes we go out into Oxford, which is fun too.
Okay. And if you think back over your time as a boarder, Timi, have you been away on weekend trips and visited places outside of Oxford? What have you done in your time here?
So we've been to London a few times, to Westfield for some shopping. I remember going to Thorpe Park last term. We went to Cotswold Wildlife Park and the crocodile enclosure, a range of activities.
Brilliant. And just whilst you're talking to me, there's a question here about our sixth formers permitted to leave the campus at the weekends. Perhaps you could talk about the freedoms that you get as a sixth former.
There's a lot of flexibility as a sixth former at Headington. As soon as we sign in at 11, from then onwards, we're free to do whatever we want, to go to places. A lot of girls take trips to London or Bicester Village on the weekends. We could go into town whenever we want as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Timi. So, Anne-Marie, we've got some more academic questions, which I think will lead on to some admissions questions. And then at that point, I'll try and bring Anna into the feed from our admissions team, and she can answer those.
Yeah.
So the first question, I thought this one was better to ask you, Anne-Marie. It is about admissions, but how many GCSEs or IGCSEs do you need to get into the school? So this is a 16 plus admissions question, but I think there's a bit of detail that you could add to this that would be helpful.
Yeah, there really is. The answer to this is at once very simple and a little bit complicated. We expect both our internal and our external students who move on to sixth form to have a grade 7 in a subject that they wish to take through to A-level. That's very straightforward if you're doing a straight conversion from geography GCSE to geography A-level. Having said that, we do offer an awful lot of new subjects at sixth form for which there are no GCSEs or IGCSEs available. So how do we make the judgment as to whether a candidate would be suitable and would succeed at those subjects? And what we have is the concept of the facilitating subject. So if you want to choose economics, for example, we would be looking for not only strong essay writing skills, which are really important in economics, but also sort of strong numeracy skills and mathematics. So ideally, you would have your 7s in an essay subject as well as mathematics. If you're looking at psychology, psychology is one of the science A-levels. And again, you will need strong numeracy skills in there. There's a lot of statistical work that you have to look at, a lot of interpretation there, as well as strong essay writing skills. For sciences in general, we do expect a high level of mathematics because there is some challenge in all of those A-level specifications. And then if we're looking at subjects like philosophy, history of art, we're looking for strong grade 7s in essay writing subjects. We would expect our sixth formers to have at least sixes in the other subjects that they're looking to study, not to study a sort of broad level of strong GCSEs. But we really want to ensure that you can choose an A-level package of subjects at which you will succeed. And those are the sort of baseline requirements that we are looking for there. I hope that answers the question.
It does very clearly. And I'm conscious that there might be some guests on this stream who perhaps are wondering what the entrance requirements for sixth form for those with different sorts of qualifications might be, and whether you're able to discuss that briefly.
Yes, indeed. So absolutely, we're a very, very international community, and students come to us from very, very different educational backgrounds and have done for a very, very long time and have succeeded at A-level. So it's not a barrier to entrance by any stretch of the imagination. We do have our own selection procedures. So we have our general paper, which is an essay writing paper. We also have a broader maths entrance paper. So we would look at the scores of those. We also have an online creative and critical test as well. So all of those scores come together, and we look at school reports, and we look at any other exam results that come from different systems and make a judgment, as well as the interview, which is a really important part of our selection procedures, and ensure that if one of our applicants has an EAL background, whether the English language strengths would be sufficient to successfully pursue an A-level subject. We're very happy to provide support in that, but that judgment is also made.
And I suppose you have in some respects answered this, but just to add a bit more detail, if you don't do, for example, psychology, can you do it at A-level? This is that piece that you just explained about the facilitating subjects. And of course, we don't offer psychology at GCSE, but it's that idea that if there are A-level subjects that you haven't studied at GCSE, or if they're A-level subjects that we don't offer at GCSE, we have this idea of facilitating subjects, and that's within our admissions materials.
Absolutely. I don't think we've ever had a student come through to A-level with a GCSE in psychology. So it really isn't a problem at all.
Okay. So whilst you're talking, Anne-Marie, I'm gonna put another academic question up there. And this is one around languages and additional languages within and beyond the curriculum. I think this is a good opportunity to explain what is within the curriculum at GCSE, and then how we might answer this question around something, for example, like an Arabic GCSE.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a very large and lively modern languages department, and we offer four core languages through that. So most students take an option between French, German, and Spanish. And then some of our students also elect to do Mandarin or Cantonese. We do facilitate GCSEs in a huge range of subjects because we do have an immensely rich international community. So while we don't offer teaching in Arabic, for example, if we have a student who has a strong background in Arabic and would like to take a GCSE, we do try to facilitate that if we can find an oral examiner to visit the school to undertake that element of it. And if we can find somebody who could also enable a mock exam to take place to gauge the readiness of that student for the GCSE. So what our head of faculty does, he gathers together everybody who has an interest in taking an exam in a non-curriculum language and tries his very best to facilitate the support through that, even though we don't have dedicated teachers for all of the huge range of languages that people do take GCSEs in every year.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And this question is I think one that Caroline can answer. And then Anna, I'm going to bring you on, you're backstage. So how many new students do we usually welcome to the school in year 9?
We offer quite a lot of new students at year 9. We're structured that that's the beginning of our middle school. It's not just sort of just a few extra girls who come in at that time, like happens in some girls' schools. So if we sort of start at year 7, actually, we get a good intake at year 7. About half our girls come in at year 7 from other schools. The other half are from our prep school, which is over the road. But then, so that makes 4 forms. But then when you get to the beginning of year 9, we completely restructure our lower school. All of the girls get mixed up with the new entrants, which are about 30 to 40 girls will come in into 6 new forms, and they will start their middle school journey for the next 3 years. So it's a proper entry point, and we have lots of girls who are trying to come in at that point. And that's also the time that we also move. Most of those girls will move into our new middle school houses. A few of them may stay in Davenport to begin with, but most of those girls will start their middle school journey in our 2 middle school houses, which are called Hillstow and Napier.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I've just brought Anna into the stream from our admissions team. Anna, I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that when you talk, we can hear you.
Can you hear me, Simon?
I can. That's
Yay!
fantastic. Hey. So I have a very admissions-specific question for you. We understand that the admissions tests are in October and November. Our daughter's IGCSE exams are in November. Is there any flexibility to reschedule the admissions tests in the event of a clash in dates? Are you able to give us a response to that?
Yes, so our 6th form tests are actually at the end of October, that we're going to do our entry tests for overseas for year 12 entry. Unfortunately, we can't change the dates. We really need to make this a fair process. So we need all our candidates to sit together so that we can look at your results together and really make it a fair process for everyone. However, our entrance exams, we don't want you to feel any stress over doing them, any extra preparation for them. If you're already revising for your GCSEs, it's just a little something extra that you need to do. And, don't feel too pressured to do them, is what I would say. You'll be able to fit them in, hopefully at a weekend, so it's not interfering with your school time as well. And then we can look at your results in line with everybody else's.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And whilst you're on the spot, as it were, there's a question here about whether there are opportunities for visitors here in Oxford. And if you could talk about those opportunities, that would be great.
There's lots of opportunities to come to the school. So we have open mornings. Our next one is the 1st of July, and then we have another one in October, beginning of October. We do meet the heads events during the term time as well, which are slightly smaller events where you can meet Caroline and Simon, and also have tours of the school. All our tours of the school are done by current pupils, so they're really lovely. You can really ask them any questions that you want. And also, as the admissions team, we're here all year round. So if you want to come in the holidays, if you're flying over to the UK in the Easter holidays or the summer holidays, and you want a tour of the school to see all the amazing facilities, we're here and we can fit you in any time. So please do contact us if you want to come and have a look. And
Anna, whilst you're here, this is a very simple one to answer. I think the second part of this question has been answered very well by Anne-Marie about the admissions process and it being selective and the qualifications required. But just on average, how many new A-level students would you say we admit in a year?
So we have around 30 a year that we have. Year 12 is a main entry point for us, like year 9 is, and year 7. So we would have around 30 coming into the 6th form.
Brilliant, thank you. So there's a question that was asked early on, which I think is a really interesting question that I think most of us might have something to say about. And I'll start here. This is just asking about students throughout the school, particularly in later years. How do we make sure they don't focus too much on exam grades, but continue to enjoy learning for the sake of learning? Well, this isn't necessarily a question about co-curricular and our philosophy on that front, but I'll start by responding to that. And perhaps, Anne-Marie, you can then talk about that learning for the sake of learning bit. And I don't know, Caroline, whether there's an opportunity to add some pastoral colour around it as well. But the thing that I would want to say on this is that our philosophy here at Headington is that we want girls to engage in their academic learning. We are an academically selective school, but we are really proud of our hugely broad co-curricular offer as well. And we really want to make sure that girls are confident that they can continue to engage in that throughout their time at the school. And so, talking to girls in the 6th form, I'm always really pleased to hear that they're still playing hockey matches and performing in concerts and learning musical instruments and attending lectures, and that they're not becoming too focused as they approach their A-levels just on those summer exams, that in fact they're still taking advantage of all of the fantastic opportunities that we have in school. And it's something that we really work hard to make sure that girls feel confident they can do. and that we don't put so much pressure on them that exams become their only focus. It is very important to us. Anne-Marie, do you want to talk a little bit about the enjoying learning for the sake of learning?
Yes, absolutely. So we're very, very keen that we don't only offer subjects that lead to a qualification. And I think that's really, really important. So we encourage our students, and the focus of your question is at the top end of the school, to engage academically and intellectually with things that don't necessarily convert to a piece of paper at the end. That takes a lot of the pressure out of it and expands the joy factor of it too. So all of our lower six students take a course in creative and critical thinking. And those lessons are very, very lively because there isn't a sense of having to perform or produce anything at the end of it. Very spontaneous discussions take place around issues that perhaps students had never dreamt of, never encountered, or always had at the back of their mind. And at the end of that, they're able to do a presentation on something that really has sort of ignited their imagination during the course. It's very open. It's a very supportive environment. And some of them even then take some of that interest and develop it into something that they then pursue at higher education level. We also encourage students to attend the rich array of lectures that are on. We have something called the Philosophy Cafe, and that's open to people from all academic disciplines to come along and listen to some of the greatest minds in the university who've been very generous with their time to come and talk to us on some of those not simply very, very academic philosophical issues, but ones that we think about in our everyday lives, about the environment, about animal welfare, about sexual politics. And that again just sort of encourages a lot of engagement and stretch and challenge to the individual that has absolutely no exam pressure on it at all. And we also run an electives program for the lower six in the first year of A-level, where they pick courses that they want to attend once a week, which may have absolutely nothing to do with their course of study. So it might be a sort of beginner's Italian session, or it could be some seminars on the history of empire. It could be cooking for life, anything like that. You know, it's just a sort of deep engagement at a range of things that really do not convert into exam grades. And it's just really important for mental well-being to have that in your life. And that's something we would hugely encourage.
Brilliant, thank you. And Caroline, do you want to talk a bit about pastoral support more broadly?
Yes, I think it's really important that we keep an eye on what the girls are doing. There is so much that they can do here. So the girls will have 2 tutors when they start the school, from year 7 up to year 11. And those tutors in middle school will rotate with them. So they'll start in year 9 and go up with them on that journey, year 10, year 11, getting to know the girls really well and also getting to know you very well. We make sure that we have check-ins with you, whether it's Zoom calls, as well as whether it's we send out reports anyway, but we try and have those pastoral chats with you a couple of times during the year, as indeed your house mistress will. And the house mistresses will also be part of that tutor discussion. So as a whole, we're looking after your daughters right the way through their time here. And part of that conversation will be, are they doing the right sort of things? And often it will be, are they doing too much as opposed to not a little? Because in fact the girls do so much, and it's trying to get the balance right between academics but knowing that there are other things they should be doing to allow them to relax and spend time with their peers and doing things for the fun of it. That normally isn't a problem at Headington. It's more of a problem of them just trying to manage what they're doing. My head girl yesterday, when we were in the open day, was explaining how she had started by playing hockey at 7:30 in the morning, how she'd been in our massive big show, Chicago, last term, how she was still singing in chamber choir, and she's doing 3 A levels. So, you know, it's a great example of just trying to make sure that they're getting the balance right and plenty of enough time to relax. And in fact, my trio were relaxing last night at a big sixth form social we had with 200 people, with boys from other schools in there, and they were definitely making sure that sixth form they had time to relax as well. So plenty of opportunity to get a really good balance here at Headington.
Brilliant. So thank you everybody for your responses. Now I was about to say this, that we've answered all the questions, but one more has just come in. So I think that this is something that is very well worth answering, and I wonder whether perhaps Timi could talk about this. Do we think that, Timi, do you think you could respond to this about leadership positions available for the girls in the sixth form? There are lots, but you spoke so well earlier in the week about the prefect process. So perhaps you could tell us a bit about that.
Yes. So the prefect process has changed a little bit from when we applied. So now it's been narrowed down to 9 prefects. So that's the trio and a few others. We also have our student ambassadors, which runs throughout the different departments in school. So girls in the lower sixth will be encouraged to write a letter to Mrs. Jordan, just stating what qualities they feel that they have and could show, that shows that they would make a good prefect. After that, we have the hustings, which girls would speak to a crowd of their peers and teachers, and again, just reiterate the fact that they have the skills necessary to become a prefect. After that process, interviews, and again, I think that's with Mrs. Jordan and Mr. Drew, and then the respective teachers from the other prefect roles. And I think we're finding out next week the new prefects, which is exciting. There are also other leadership positions. For example, we have diversity champions in school. Sixth formers are also able to run clubs and work as mentors for girls in the younger years.
We have, if I think about Timi, is a great example of a boarder, because she's been here since she has been in year 7 and has come all the way through. But many of the head of boardings who went before you, Timi, as you will remember, were girls who joined later on in the school, maybe into our year 9, year 10, even year 12, have become one of the head girl trios as well, because all of sixth form are judged together. It's very much different start of the sixth form, and in some ways there's a real opportunity when you come into the sixth form to make your mark, get to know everybody, and I can think of some really fabulous prefects we've got in the current upper sixth who did join us in the lower sixth, so there's plenty of opportunity for new joiners as well.
Brilliant, thank you. So we've answered all the questions, I'm pleased to say. So Caroline, it's just over to you to wrap things up.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. We are conscious it's very hard for you to come over and visit us, but as I think Anna said very clearly, when you are able to come, don't think it has to be around a particular event that we have. We will make sure that we spend time to show you our fantastic school, whenever that will be. We do have girls who join us who have arrived on day 1, have never been to the school before, and we are very good at looking after them. So if you can't get here, don't think that it means that you shouldn't be sending your daughter over here. There are plenty of videos online you can see about us, different talks from myself and other people that you can tune into and generally get a real sense of what the school is like from a distance. But we do wish you well wherever you are in the world. We would love to see you and your daughters in due course and get them to become a Headingtonian. So thank you so much for everybody for joining. Thank you.